All right, Big Bang. Today is Tuesday. It is January 17th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Here I am. It's myself, Eddie, with Chief. Chief, how are you?
I'm doing great. This is a big part of my week. I love the Tuesday dog walks.
A lot of people love them. Mm-hmm. A lot of people love them, Chief. So happy to be here. Happy to be back. So today we're kind of getting into a little history thing. I saw this actually on the history website. It's a little story about a bank robbery. Little nod to RA. Little nod to RA. He's taking a little heat last week about his basketball shot.
That's not his game.
It's not his game. No,
yeah.
It's not his game.
Yeah, and it's also like, I don't have any game. You want to hear something? Last week, it was a little cold out. I was like, all right, walking the dog, taking him out. I'm like, let's just run home. Let's get out of this cold. I tweak something. So when you get a little hip flexor action. So anytime you do anything athletic when you get beyond the age of 35, it's just like, don't even try. Don't even try. And so I got, RA, he's our guy, and I don't think you should feel any shame about that.
No.
When was the last time you touched a basketball?
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. So it's all right, RA. And we're giving you a little nod in this episode. Like I said, I saw this on that website. So it's literally happened today. What, 70 years ago, 72 years ago?
It was 1950. It's 1923, so 73 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
73 years ago.
To the day.
To the day. So it's about a robbery.
It's a Brinks truck robbery. And
to real life, the Town shit. People fucking love that movie.
Dude, The Town's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
You know what? I love John Hamm, the actor, Mad Men. He's in that movie. He's the FBI guy. I'm kind of surprised that he hasn't been like a bigger movie star post Mad Men. What's up?
You know what a lot of people say about him?
What?
He kind of plays the same roles. So
some people would say, a lot of people do that. Some people would say Denzel Washington does that.
Correct. I know our guy White Sox
Yeah.
Dave claims Denzel does that.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that that's like John Hamm. Like he is like, we need an FBI guy. It's
That's
called
John Hamm.
Like, you know what I mean?
He did have a movie called
which may or may not be fair. Probably not fair. A lot of people get fucking unfair shit tossed upon them. So
I don't think it is fair, because
think it's fair.
I just saw a movie. It was like something. It was actually with the other guy from Mad Men, John Slattery. But he was like something Fletch, where he was like a novelist, but like trying to solve a crime. But it was like a comedy, and he was funny. And then he had I know you don't watch Curb, but he had a recurring role where he was playing John Hamm, but he was studying for a role to play Larry David. Like John Hamm was going to play Larry David in some movie, so he was like shadowing him. He was hilarious. Like John Hamm like crushed that little like 3-episode arc in whatever season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So I think John Hamm, maybe people just don't like him.
It's not like a criticism. It's not like people shit on him for it. It's just like an astute observation.
You ever seen that
astute? What is astute
hotel?
mean?
I think you used it right.
Thanks.
Bad Times at the El Royale.
No, it's on my list. It was on my list.
It's a very good movie. Yeah, so I feel
it's on A24 too, right? I believe.
What's that?
A24. There's a studio. People fucking love it. It's like one of those. Like,
okay, yeah, it came out in 2018. It's a very good movie, and it's like a lot of people in it. Jeff Bridges is in it. Chris Hemsworth's in it. And then John Hamm, Dakota Johnson. So it's one of those movies that I feel like it flew under the radar. At least for me, I saw it like 2 or 3 years after the fact.
Yeah, maybe it's not A24. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
that's not what we're talking about at all.
No, it's not what we're talking about. Sorry, we went on a fucking John Hamm left turn.
Yeah.
Shout out to Large on this episode. We're going all over the place, but we could get into this bank robbery.
Yeah, because the reason we brought up The Town is because this movie is the fucking town, like down to all the details, basically. So. It was like you said, January 17th, 1950. It was 11 guys. I think the town was 4 or 5. Stole more than $2 million, which in today's money is closer to $30 million. So that's a fuck ton of money that they lifted off of a Brinks truck. And in the movie, they call it, it's a bread truck. Oh, bread truck stacked real high. And that was the premise of the movie, right down to the point where they had disguises. They wore Halloween masks. They did all the things, just like the movie The Town. And then I looked up to be like, is The Town based on a true story? And Ben Affleck, of course, is like, nah, I just wrote it. like just came out of his brain and from nothing else. So I had never heard of this story until you sent me the link, but the real life thing. It's exactly like, what are you talking about, Ben Affleck? This is exactly like your whole premise of this movie is exactly this. And there were these guys who were known criminals in Boston, just like similar to the town. And you had this one guy named Anthony Fats Pino, who was the so-called criminal mastermind of this. And they pulled it off. So they were dressed like Brinks chauffeur drivers, and then they were wearing Halloween masks, and they were able to get a set of keys. And then all 11 guys went in, and they stole $2 million, cash, checks, all these different, treasuries, all this different stuff, and money orders and coins, and it weighed more than half a ton. So what's a ton? 2,000 pounds, right?
I'll look it up.
I think it's 2,000 pounds. Can you and supposedly they were recruited. They were all recruited. Is it 2,000 pounds?
Correct.
Okay, so you're talking about 1,000 pounds of money. I think you just got to leave the coins. How much of that was coins? Because you got to think, this is back 1950, where like we did that episode, What the Fuck Happened in 1971? Everything's cheaper. So like having quarters around, I feel like you probably, like a lot of people were just using quarters more back then, because a lot of things cost 50 cents.
Probably.
So I feel like there's probably more quarters in circulation. That's a ton of money. Mm-hmm. That is a ton of money. And that's a lot of weight to be. It's a half a ton of money actually. And but like I wonder how they just, like, if they were arguing about, like, nah, you're the coin guy. Like, fuck you, I'm not the coin guy. I'm not carrying that shit. It's so fucking heavy. I mean, you got to recruit guys from the docks or something. You got to get the big muscle guys.
Oh yeah, you got to get the pipe fitters.
Seriously, yeah.
Get the pipe fitters.
Yeah,
strong guys.
That's how I would start my investigation. We got 500 pounds worth of coins stolen. Well, we better start investigating. Go down to the docks, get the pipe fitters, get all the strong guys in Boston, because somebody has to lift this shit and find out who has a criminal record.
Oh yeah.
But these guys did a great job. There were like no traces of anything. They left behind one chauffeur's hat, rope to tie up. I think there were 5 employees working that night. Rope to tie up those guys, the employees. And that was it. No evidence, no leads, no nothing. And FBI was just like, well, what the fuck? And nobody was hurt. And they, like I said, left no clues. And I was shocked to learn this. I don't know if this is still the law, but at least back then, if you didn't touch the money for 6 years, statute of limitations runs out. So all 11 guys had agreed, hey, like, we're not going to touch this money. Just set it aside. We got it. Again, you're splitting. It's like $3 million a guy, basically, close to it, $2.5 million a guy in today's money. Like, everybody just fucking chill. We'll wait 6 years, and then we'll tap into it. We'll be off scot-free. So
no pink Cadillacs, no mink coats.
Exactly.
Nothing.
Exact same thing. Like, don't fucking touch it. Don't make a scene. And, so the FBI and Boston PD, they were like dumbfounded what to do. They were going around to like underground casinos, going to real casinos. They were going to like racetracks. They were going to all these different like bars that were known to have, organized crime connections. They were trying to find and like rounding people up. Like, hey, everybody in this place right now, we know you're guilty. You're coming with us. And they were just questioning people like relentlessly, getting fucking nowhere for years. And then there was this guy, Joe O'Keefe, nicknamed Specs, so glasses guy, and he was just always in trouble. So he was arrested and thrown in jail, serving a prison sentence for something else unrelated to this. And he starts racking up debt, lawyer fees, court fees, this and that. So from prison, he writes, and he's like kind of in and out. He's out on bail. He goes back into jail. They release him for bail for free, but he has like this run. And the other 10 guys in the crew are like, man, fuck this guy. Like, he's going to blow it for us. And then he wrote them letters being like, I need my money. I need my money now. I can't wait the 6 years. I'm in debt. I got to get myself out of jail. Like, I need that money. And the group was like, man, shut the fuck up. So now he's becoming like a liability. The guy, it's decided basically by the head guy, Pino, Fats, we got to put a hit on this guy. So
Gotta go.
He's got to go. He's talking too much. Same thing, screwdriver or was a screwdriver in the head in
And Goodfellas.
in Goodfellas.
Which guy? I mean, Morty got fucking strangled.
Yeah, from behind, and I feel like another guy got a screwdriver in his skull, but I could be.
Carbone got fucking frozen.
Yep. And so it was just like, this guy won't shut the fuck up. So they put a hit on him. The hit fails. So now it's like this guy is just on the run, and he gets caught. He's back into jail. And, now it's like the time is, going. The clock's ticking. They're getting closer and closer to this 6-year mark. And eventually, O'Keefe flips. So Specs, the glasses guy, flips. He testifies to the FBI. He cuts a deal and testifies against his fellow, his comrades there. 8 of the guys were caught and convicted and given life sentences. Life sentences, even though they didn't kill anybody. So how much do you have to steal? I guess, and maybe it was different back then, but to me, it's just like, well, life for a bank robbery where nobody was harmed. Is it not FDIC insured? Like everybody's fine, but they were given life. 2 guys died before they can even go on trial because that was the type of crew that they were rolling with. But 8 guys were caught, convicted, and given life sentences, and I think O'Keefe got out before that. And the money was never really recovered, so nobody still to this day
was found.
Knows where it is.
Wow.
So the rumor is, according to the internet, that it's hidden in the hills of Grand Rapids, Minnesota, which I looked up. It is way the fuck up there, up in Minnesota. It's northwest of Duluth. So if you know where Duluth is, it's on the lake, but it's like, I think Duluth is like maybe 3 hours north of Minneapolis. So you're like in the tundra up there in Minnesota. I think you got to get your metal detector back out.
Go find this money.
Let's go find that money. So we'll take our little Barstool Chicago road trip. We'll leave Harry in the Twin Cities with Dave. They can go to a Sox Twins game, and then we'll head on north to Grand Rapids and see what we can find.
Try to get this money.
I mean, who's going to stop us?
Yeah, right.
I'll even carry the coins. I'll carry the coins.
Yeah.
You in? A little summer road trip?
Well, White Sox Dave would try to.
No, we're distracting him. We're leaving him in
White Sox. Yeah. White Sox.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for them to get caught that way that's like the most careless way ever to get caught. A guy just writing letters.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's the thing. It's like we've talked about this before, but like, there's no DNA testing in 1950. Like, no shit, there wasn't any clues. All you have to do is like not drop your wallet with your ID at the crime scene. You're off scot-free.
Yeah.
So they were fine. They had the mask. Nobody could ID him. They even had a truck that was identified near the where the robbery took place, and they drove that truck to like basically like a dump and busted it all up, like took it apart piece by piece, and just like they found the truck later and was like, we think that's the truck, but they just destroyed the truck.
Yeah. And
they're like, fuck it, who needs this? Who needs it? And that was, let's get rid of any and all evidence. And then they try to get rid of this guy O'Keefe as evidence too, and they just botched the hit. So unless one guy starts squealing, that you're going to be fine. But they had a guy who was squealing.
Do you think it's like going to be impossible to commit these crimes like soon? I mean, it basically is now, I feel. Just with like surveillance and the new DNA, like it's so hard now, I feel.
All crimes are digital now, I feel like. You still can still can rob shit, and you just have to do it from here.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Like now, it's all like hacking and like those kind of scams, like the gift card, the Trista scam that they pulled with Erica. Like that's like the move now. But
do you think you have to be smarter to pull off these crimes now or back then? Because I feel like you got to
be more intelligent now.
I feel like you have to have more training, less balls, more training.
Great way to put it. Less balls.
Yeah.
Before it took balls, like you had to get up, you had to go do something, like,
and you had to stake it out,
and you had to go face to face with someone.
Mm-hmm. And like, the witness reports from the robbery they were like, these guys knew like every inch of what they were doing. Like it was like meticulously planned.
Yeah, like the hacking and the stealing and the theft and the fraud now is like cowardly. They're sending out blast messages in people's Instagram DMs, and they're doing it through an email, or they're calling grandmas and they're trying to get them to get their credit cards, and they don't see it face to face. Whereas before they're walking up and they're not.
Yeah.
You know, but even now, like there's still so many. Bank robberies. I mean, hey, listen, I'll tell you this. I just looked this up too. This is also tomorrow is 2 years to the date where I interviewed the guy I went to high school with who robbed a bank.
Yeah.
Which is one of the best probably interviews
episode.
that I've probably one of the best dog walk episodes.
Yeah, it's a 2-parter.
Yeah. And it's on YouTube. If you want to go check it out, it's an hour long, hour 23. Just type in the dog walk bank robber. It's honestly one of the best interviews I think I've ever done.
Yeah, and like people are still trying to rob Brinks trucks. Okay, a woman charged after more than $100,000 was stolen from Brinks truck in Edgewater in Chicago. That happened on November 30th.
Clem had a blog 4 days ago.
Yep.
Perfect crime: 3 men in Brooklyn robbed a Brinks truck of
$300,000. So it does still happen, but I do feel like that maybe that's like a something you should look at is finding a guy who's been arrested for some of these cyber crimes and is in jail, and just be like, yo, how the fuck? Because like robbing a bank is somewhat straightforward, but if you're like a hacker stealing stuff like that, to me is like how the fuck do you even do that?
Yeah, but here's the thing though too, Chief, it's sometimes not even balls. Like I know when I talked to Dave, who did do the bank, like he was
desperation.
It was desperation, and he was battling with substance, you know. So it's like kind of a hard times.
Yeah,
it's hard times, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what's tough too.
And I told you what happened to my parents. We talked about that on this show.
No.
Where
maybe. We've talked about a lot of stuff.
And this happened to another. I know 2 people, and I did blog this when around the time that it happened. But long story short, I woke up in the morning to 2 missed calls from my sister, and she and I just don't really talk on the phone that much. So I'm like thinking,
oh, this is fucking nuts.
Yeah, have we talked about this?
I don't know if we brought it up on the podcast, but this is fucking nuts.
Yeah. So anyway, so I had 2 missed calls around midnight. It was like 11:54 and 11:57, and I was long asleep, as you know. I put my phone away at like 9:30 and just kind of doze off. So I thought something must be up. Like, why is my sister calling? So I call her first thing, 5:30 in the morning. She answers, and she's like, everybody's fine. Everything's okay. She's like, can you turn that music off so I can tell you what happened? And I'm like, I'm not playing any music. What are you talking about? So she hangs up immediately. She calls right back, and she somehow, some way, somebody hacked into her phone and was calling like her family, or I don't know how, like she's married, so our last names are, I don't know how she has like my name or what, but she called like her family member. So I got called. I didn't, I was asleep. Called my parents. My parents answered, and my mom, so my mom picks up her phone, and it's like these 2 guys being like, we got this bitch. You better send us money right now. Like we're going to fuck her up. And then, so my mom's like, what? Like, what the fuck? And so she's like panicking kind of, and she can hear a woman screaming in the background. And so she my dad's right there. She wakes up my dad, and my dad calls the 911. So my dad has 911 listening. My mom's on speaker with these guys thinking that they've broken into my sister's house. And my mom just kept, they're like, send us this money. And they're like, do you have Zelle? My mom's like, what's Zelle? What is, geniusly, expertly, kind of playing dumb and keeping them on the line until my dad can get the police to get on the phone and drive over to where my sister lives. And they only live 7 minutes from my parents. And at one point, I guess my mom was like, I'm coming over there. She lives 7 minutes. I'm coming over there with a baseball bat right now. And my dad was like, no, you're Marianne. No, you're not. And so then, the police show up, and they're banging on the door of my sister. And so my mom was just like, I don't have Venmo. Let me see if I can download it. Oh, let me go see if I can find my glasses. And just delay until the police could get there. They're banging on the door. My brother-in-law comes down and he's like, what do you want? Like, why are you banging on it? And it's like, so then he goes up and wakes up my sister and be like, hey, like, your dad thinks something is wrong with you. And she's like, what? So then she calls my mom. So my mom's on the phone with the quote unquote kidnappers. And she has an incoming call from the number that she's on the phone with. So she just hangs up with them and is like, are you okay? Are you okay? And my sister's like, am I okay? Are you okay? Like nothing was ever wrong, but they hacked somehow and was able to dial to my mom from my sister's, and shows up on her ID as like my sister.
Caller,
yeah. And so that happened to another guy I know, like maybe 2 years ago. And then I guess the other thing that's going around right now is more on the same thing of what we're talking about with bank robberies, is that you'll get a call from your bank, okay? So it'll say like, oh, you got an incoming call from Chase. I'm going to be like, hey, like this is the Chase fraud prevention system. And they'll act like, hey, can you confirm your, okay, yeah, okay. And then they'll be like, what's your mother's, whatever your password type things are. And they'll be like, oh, what's your PIN to confirm your identity? And people just say like, oh, my PIN is, whatever. And they're like, okay, looks like everything's fine. Hang up. Now they have all your information, including your bank number and your PIN number, so they can go and they can like make a fake thing if they want to, or they can just enter your PIN in when they need to get cash or do online transactions or whatever, and it's away they go. So that is, be on the alert for that. And I guess banks will never ask you for your PIN. Like if it's your real bank calling you, they'll ask you for maybe for your social or other things. They'll never ask you for your PIN number. So that's a little PSA for the people out there. Don't give anybody your PIN over the phone.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy out there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, man. And then I feel like, we've got a little bit of time. We should provide a little update because I know that episode, a lot of people were interested and a lot of people watched that episode we did. Was it last week we did about the Moscow murders?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or 2 weeks.
Was it last week or 2 weeks ago, Harry?
I think it was last week.
It was last week?
Yeah.
No, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We did the CIA, FBI.
Yeah.
Last week. Yeah. So that PCA was unsealed. Probable cause affidavit.
Okay.
And, horrifying stuff under that, of why they had the probable cause to arrest him. And they had so they got the no-knock warrant, and they arrested him in the middle of the night in Pennsylvania because one of the things they say they found his DNA on a knife sheath in one of the girls' bedrooms.
Yeah.
And then one of the surviving roommates saw him, or they saw someone wearing a mask with bushy eyebrows who fit the description of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he walked right by her. So
yeah, and she went back into her room.
Yeah,
and she was freaked out.
Yeah.
And it's like,
So it's like a lot of the affidavits out there if you want to go check that out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what's crazy too is one of the couple, Xana. I know she had just ordered DoorDash. I think there was a link there at like 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they have like a whole timeline where all of this happened. They believe he entered the suspect. Obviously everything's all alleged right now. They're going to go through the trial and whatnot. And between 4 and 4:20, this all happened. She got her delivery at around 4. And I think they linked that she was on TikTok at 4:12. So I believe that she was just up and awake, just kind of like having like a late night meal and just kind of surfing the web. And so who knows exactly what happened, but it's just that's just kind of everything that they found was that one of the surviving roommates had a room that was in the middle of the upstairs room where 2 of the girls were upstairs, and then the couple was on the second floor.
Right.
And he was just kind of passing by, and she like walked right by them, and then plus there's fingerprint was on the sheath, the knife sheath, and then using that. They used cell phone pings that he had turned off his phone at during that time, but then he turned it back on when he went back to his apartment. And besides that, there was another ping near Moscow, near the house, again at like around 9:30 in the morning the next day. So he did go back there. Who knows what for? But
maybe he's like, oh fuck, I forgot my knife sheath.
yeah, that's what people maybe they're saying. Maybe he went to go look for that. Who
Yeah.
knows? Like, who knows? You
Yeah.
know, nobody knows. But
Yeah, fucking terrible.
yeah, that's just like a terrible, obviously horrible,
Yeah.
horrible. But that's a quick abbreviation. Obviously, go read the full report for yourself. It's out there. You can just kind of Google it. But just providing a quick update for those people who were caught up to that point 2 weeks ago into that episode.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, something we'll probably check in on as this trial and everything goes along, but it feels like he's dead to rights here.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see. I who knows? Obviously, he's like anybody has the right to a fair trial
For
and
sure.
everything. And he,
Yep.
I believe he just had his preliminary hearings and whatnot. And to my knowledge, the next thing will be in June.
So what's that? What would be the next thing?
So he waived his right to a speedy trial. So now it's going to be a little bit of a longer juncture now. Like now they're really going to settle in and everything. This is, to my knowledge, I'm not an expert at this by any means.
Yeah.
So, go Google,
Yeah.
do your own research. But that's what I've seen. That's when the next court proceedings will be in June. So.
Okay.
But those were like kind of the biggest findings in the affidavit was the knife sheath, one of the roommates,
Positive ID.
yeah, positive ID, and I don't know if I saw it in the report, but there was genealogy too. That's how they did match the
Okay.
that's how they did match the fingerprint to his father. So it was that stuff is like worked wonders for some of these cold cases in the past.
Okay.
So that's been huge. So yeah, I hope that poor girl's doing all right because that's
How could you?
that's a horrible situation. But yeah, we'll just kind of leave you with that. Kind of a lot in one episode, but
yeah, all over the place.
yeah, kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But all right, that's it, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll see you all tomorrow.